Hi, I'm Julia.
And I'm Sue.
Welcome to Sticks and Stones.
Today on episode 29 of Sticks and Stones, we're going to learn about bead and fabric organization in your studio. We're going to see how Julia's been progressing on her knitting, and we'll see some new jewelry that Sue's been working on. Join us! Welcome back!
Yay, we're here again.
Episode 29.
Today we'll be talking about beads.
Beads.
I think the viewers probably had enough yarny fun last week.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I laughed the whole time I was editing the thing. It's always good when you can make yourself laugh.
That's right. We're all about the humorous aspect of crafting, right?
Yes.
If you can't laugh at yourself, you're gonna cry.
Yeah, and honestly, half the time the fun of it is the stuff that doesn't work.
That is very true. It is very true. Very true. So, what have you been working on? Do you have any extensions to show us? The things you've been working on?
No, I finished up all that stuff and then I started a bunch of new things. So, September, the only thing I ever really have to do in September is the birthday sweater for my almost 6-year-old who is in kindergarten this year. So this is my take 2 of his sweater so far.
Take 2?
The first one I was doing was supposed to be solid center and brown sleeves, and I didn't like it. It was too, I don't know, I just didn't like it. So I took it apart, and I'm making stripes instead, because he loves stripes. And
cute. I
think I'm going to model this very similarly to his 2-year-old sweater, which was striped like this, but had a Henley, a little Henley thing here, and then I put a train applique on it. He wants a dog sweater. This is the child who had the crazy sweater last year, remember?
Yes, I was wondering why it's not dinosaur, dog, train, monkey.
Much simpler this year. He just wants dog. So I think I'm going to do I have to come up with a design, but some kind of dog pattern on the front of the stripes. So that's that.
You need to make little ears and have the ears coming off.
That would be cute. I'm not sure I'm going to do like a 3D, like make it look like a real dog, or a graphic weird
Or you should
thing.
put the dog mouth right here, so when he opens his arm, it's like the dog's barking. He would totally eat that up.
Oh my gosh, he would. He'd get himself in so much trouble.
He'd get home sent home every time he wears it.
He already has a reputation. Seriously, I went up to the teacher Monday just to say, to ask about an art fair that's coming up. I just wanted to know if the kindergartners were involved. And as I'm walking up the steps, she says, "Do you have another injury?" Like, it's week 3 of school, and my poor child has this reputation already. So, anyway.
So nothing sharp on the sweater. That's fine.
No, it'll be just nice and soft. And
So what
doggy.
do you, before we go on, what do you do with all your sweaters? Do you just keep them in a box? So
Yeah.
obviously he doesn't wear a 2-year-old sweater
Right.
anymore.
Yeah, the ones that I think are really nice, like that I've used a good yarn for, or that I think are worth keeping, I'll stick away somewhere so to save it for future generations or whatever. But there's a bunch that I did that were just thrown together, kind of cheap, didn't hold up well in the wash, because we just throw everything in the washer. I don't make them anything that has to be, handled delicately. So some of them are raggy at this point, but most of them I just keep because I spend a lot of time on them. Or I'll give them to somebody who I know will really appreciate it as a hand-me-down.
So do you catalog them or anything so that someday when they pull them out, they'll be like, yes, my mom used merino wool on that 2-year-old sweater.
It's in here, but that's about, no, I don't write anything down. They'll just know that someday, here's the sweater I had when I was 2.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, that's
You don't have like this closet where they're all between plexiglass and you flip it open.
my wedding dress is not even, we never even cleaned my wedding dress. It is in the form it was in the day I took it off and put it back in the bag and put it in my closet, and it's been there for 11 years. So, no, the sweaters are not going to be. The wedding dress costs a lot more than the sweaters do.
Yes, but the sweaters mean a lot too.
They do, but not that much. It's okay. So, moving on from the sweater. This is my new little, this is my second test knit of the Moonlight Water Dance shawl. So I'm making a bigger one, and this one's in color. So, I don't know if you can kind of see it. I'm debating whether or not I really like the colors in it or if it's going to be too difficult to see the pattern.
Is this the white shawl that you made, Maddie?
Yes. Yeah, so I was, I thought it would look interesting in a multitude, but I'm afraid that this particular yarn might be too busy. Maybe a tonal would be better than a variegated. But I love the colors.
The colors are pretty.
They're
But
really
if
pretty.
you wore something solid underneath.
So I haven't decided about that yet, but I'm almost to the point where I can write it up fully, and then I'll be needing test knitters. So if anybody wants to help me test knit and has other ideas for colors, I'd love to have you help me out. And then you too can make your very own Moonlight Water Dance
Nice.
shawl. So that's how far I am
So
with
basically, to be a test knitter, all you have to do is know how to knit.
that. Yeah, that's a good first step.
And contact you.
Yeah, yeah.
And you get the pattern, and
Yes.
you get the pattern to them, and they just knit it up and give you comments
Yes.
on this worked, this didn't work. I have no idea what this is.
Right. Just make sure that what's in my head actually came out on the paper and that the numbers work right and that I didn't mess up the math somewhere or something like that. So it's good to have helpers and a fresh pair of eyes. So anybody interested, let me know. They'll probably
So basically,
be-
they get a pattern and a garment when they're done
Yeah.
out of it.
Yep. Yeah, and
Fun.
it will be a paid pattern, so you get it for free because you'd be my helper. And credit, where credit's due. And then the last thing I did, I just cast on another pair of socks because you can never go without socks.
Ooh, I like that pattern.
Yeah, this is it's called Herbology. It's from the unofficial Harry Potter Knits magazine from
I
Inweek.
just saw that.
Yeah,
The other day at the bookstore.
So-
Is it new?
it relatively probably a month it's been out. But I started making this, and it's pretty neat. It's got a really fun little cable section here, and then this is kind of a lace. And I'm not very far into it yet, but
It looks really pretty. I like it.
I'm curious to see how it goes. And this is String Theory Caper Sock. Because I have it in my archive, I bought the yarn because I just like the color String Theory, and it appeals to the geek in me.
There you go.
But it's really pretty. It's good.
So do you do spells while you're Expelliarmus, and then you knit some?
I wish.
Expelliarmus, knit some.
It should be Knitty-armus, and then your sock is done.
Well, if you see the movies, Mrs. Weasley
Yeah.
has the thing knitting all by itself.
Oh,
Why
that
don't
would
you
be
have one of those?
wonderful. Well, somebody can figure out how to teach me the magic spell, and I'd be happy to.
Are you gonna make your kids big sweaters with their initial on, like Ron gets for
Probably not.
Christmas?
There are lots of patterns for that out there, but probably not. I'm not very good at intarsia. So that'll be a whole other. Someday when I have time and patience to make something like that, I will.
Fun.
So what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Cleaning. I had to clean up the studio so we could come here today.
You did a good
It doesn't
job.
always look this gorgeous.
It looks so organized.
But I did last night while I was cleaning. I came across these beads. They're not really beads. They're little metal discs that I bought at Michael's, and so I whipped these earrings together last night.
They look like feathers almost.
Yeah. So I don't know. We might have to do a DIY on this. I think of them as bunches of grapes.
Oh yeah, I see that.
And
That's really neat.
so, and all it is these little tiny metal discs that I got on sale at Michael's, and really all you need for this is jump rings and some chain.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
I made those, and they make up pretty quickly. If I was going to name them, I'd call them 30 Rock because that's what I was watching while I was making them.
Those are very like hip and happening looking. The color is
Yeah, like that's why I bought them.
Popular.
I love the color.
yeah.
Love the color. So that's what I made this week. And I found this while I was cleaning. I found this blanket, and I'm trying to figure out what I need to do with it. Obviously, it was once bigger, and I washed it in hot water and I felted it. But it's so cool the way, like these squares, the way some of them are different colors and so I can't figure out. I guess I could just use it as a blanket.
Or you could turn it into a bag. That would be a really neat looking bag.
Yes. So I can't figure out what to do with it. So
There are
if
people-
anybody has any ideas.
There are
you
people
can-
out there who pay a lot of money for the yarn to make something like this.
So.
It's woven,
See,
yeah?
Well, and do they put together each of the squares? Because see, you can see the light through the squares.
Yeah,
So I guess they knitted each of the squares and then.
I think the squares are woven and then they crocheted them together. That's what it looks like to me.
Oh right, it does look like they're woven.
It's really
because
pretty.
this one looks plaid
Yeah.
and this one looks plaid, but it's in a different spot.
That's really neat.
So
It's a
I think
fun
I
blanket.
got this at, a tag sale. Thrift shop, something like that. And just a while ago I had washed it and I didn't know what to do with it, so I stuck it in a bag and I came across it and I
That's cool.
figured I need to do something with it because it is cool.
Yeah, it's very colorful.
So-
It's very, very retro.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So if you have any suggestions, sticksandstonespodcast@wordpress.com or Ravelry group.
I decided
So-
for our last question last week about the what do you use to wind your yarn. I actually put it out as a contest. So anybody who puts a comment down about what you use, draw a name and get some stitch markers or what. No, I said I was going to make a wire wrapped bead stitch marker, like the ones that I showed last week.
Nice.
Is the prize. So maybe you could do another drawing for this. See who gets any good ideas, and we
Yes.
can.
Figure something out.
Yeah, we
Love
got
a giveaway.
lots of little stuff to give away. So
We do.
yeah, that could be a good way to get ideas flowing.
Yes.
Everybody loves a contest.
Yes, everybody does love a contest. So, there's that. And the only other thing that I was going to share today is I've been getting these emails from Better Homes and Gardens. I'm on this Better Homes and Gardens kick. I don't know why. But I signed up for some emails from them, and they send me this email every day that's your daily inspiration.
Oh,
And I
fun!
love it. Usually I
sounds
don't
cool.
like junk mail.
Is it good inspiration stuff?
Well, it is. It shows you a picture of something. So what was today? So some days it's a recipe.
Yeah.
Like the other day it was different types of burgers. Sometimes it's a gardening thing. And it has a theme. So one day it's, gardening, and it was what to plant in September for your zone.
All right.
Which was very helpful. I
Yeah.
actually read it.
Yeah.
But they just have neat projects on there that you can try, and it's just, a little escape among all of the other crazy emails
Yeah, I can see that.
of the day, and so I'm really enjoying it. So you just go to Better Homes and Gardens and sign up for the daily email.
Okay. Let's look at that.
And one day it was on patios, different kinds of patios and stuff. I mean, some of it is articles that they repurposed, but you can always go back and look. Good design is always good,
Yes,
no matter how
yes,
old it is.
yes.
So that's what I've been working on.
All right. That sounds fun.
But I've been doing a lot of cleaning,
Mhm.
like I said. So I'm hoping that I'm all organized and I'm going to move forward with the crafting.
All right.
So today we're going to talk about, in our DIY, we're going to talk about organization. We're going through that theme all of
Yes.
September.
Yep.
Different ways to organize your crafting supplies. And today we're talking about beads, and we'll talk a little bit about fabric as well.
Sounds good.
All right, join us. So welcome back. This is my studio. We were here before.
Yeah.
A long time
angle.
ago. And so behind me is Bead Central.
Ooh.
Dun, ta-da!
Ta-da.
So we're going to talk a little bit about bead organization. And you said that your bead organization is basically
A bag.
a bag full of bags of beads.
Well, I found a box, it was an old Stamping Up box. It had the stamp blocks in it. And it was about that big, and so I just took the stampers out and I poured the beads in.
So the stampers are in another bag.
Yeah, they're a basket. The stampers are in a basket. But the thing that worries me is because I know I have this container, but it doesn't really, it kind of clicks, but it doesn't lock. And I have, it's probably 1,000 beads just loose in this thing. And I take it and I stick it in a bag, up and down. So something's going to happen to it one of these days. And it's just going to, it's an old purse bag, really. And then I have a mason jar with a couple strings of beads in it that's shoved down the side of it. And I have I don't even know. It's bad.
But if that works for you,
I think it could be better.
you think you could be better?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you have to offer us today.
All right. Well, this is how I organize, and this doesn't mean that this is how you have to organize. I think the most important thing to organizing beads is figuring out how you design.
Okay.
So if you design by color, it might be best to organize by color.
Mm-hmm.
I design by type of material.
Like metal versus...
A lot of the stuff that I do tends to be metal,
Okay.
and so it's just different kinds of metals. And I mean, I do some colorful stuff, but I tend to start with metals and then add to that.
Okay.
And so the way that I organize my stuff is first I have my findings box, and findings is everything that's not beads. So
Okay.
that is jump rings, These are really big jump
Yeah.
rings. It is clasps. These are magnetic clasps. It is any sort of doodads that's not beads.
All right.
So I have some key rings in here. I have these little clips. You can put on an ID tag. I have some chains.
So you don't have any necessarily organization by type with it. I mean, some organization by
I
type.
did actually. I started out with this box, and I realized I had too many earrings, so I made an earrings box. So none of my earrings are in here anymore. So
Okay.
now I have a whole different earrings box
I see.
that are just different types. So these are goldfish hooks. These are big hoops. And I also put my eye pins and my head pins in here.
So this is a whole other kind of investment then, because you've got a whole lot more variety than I do.
Yes.
So how long have you been collecting?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. Probably the first piece of jewelry I made was when I was in high school.
Oh, okay. So you've been doing this.
So I've been doing it for a
Long
long
time.
time, and I don't know that how long I've had these boxes, but this is how I started organizing it. And then I realized I had too many different types of jump rings, so I made a whole jump ring box.
All right.
And these are all what would be considered findings.
Yes.
These are all, you know, these are the parts that make it come together. So the clasps, and I label them so that I can find them.
Is that going to go backwards?
Okay. And then I have my beads into different types. So these are wood, bone, and natural beads.
Okay.
So this is, you know, I have big fat bone beads. I've got, these are spines from sea urchins.
Oh,
This is, I think these are all connected. These are horn beads.
cool.
These are different carved stones. I've got all kinds of, and there's
beautiful beads.
pearls in here. But these are all my wood, bone, and natural beads. And then I have stone, because I do a lot with stones. So I have stones in this one. I have seed beads and glass beads in this one. This is metal, and then these are charms, and then I have chips.
And chips are the ones that kind of look like stone, but are like jaggedy. They're not polished, or they are polished.
They are
but-
polished. These are, a lot of times these are semi-precious stones.
Okay,
So this is considered pink quartz. It's actually a dyed quartz.
but they're not formed like shapes. Is that why they're chips?
No, they're chips
Okay.
because they're chips of glass.
Got it.
And they usually come on a string. So I keep them on the strings when I store them, unless I cut it and the string's too short, then I'll just put it in there. But I keep it on the string because when you're working, sometimes if you want to put a whole bunch of these on a string, then what you can do is you just take and squeeze them between your fingers like that.
Oh.
And you slide them all off together,
Yes.
and then you slide them all on the string together.
Okay,
Because the holes are all lined up.
that makes sense.
And then you don't have to string each one, especially when they're teeny tiny little chips like that.
Ah, very good.
So I like to keep them on the string. But the way I work, I think about what the material is made of. And so I'll be making something and think, wow, you know what would be really neat is a white horn bone on this, or a white bone bead.
Okay.
And so now I can go to my, you know, wood bone natural and pull something out, or like this needs some really bright glass, like glistening, faceted something. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my seed beads and my glass.
Okay.
I could see if you work with color and that's how you design, then it might make more sense to put one box is all green beads, one box is all purple beads, one box is all
That's
blue
probably
beads.
how I would do it. That seems to make more sense to me. Organize by color instead of by type.
Is that how you organize your yarn, or you just put it all together?
My yarn is organized by weight, actually. So I have all my fingering weight yarn.
See,
in one
I would
place.
organize yarn by color. Because I know nothing about weight.
Right,
It's
gotta
all
be
the same to me.
The expertise, like what you know more about, because you can detail it down once you're comfortable working with something more than the broad-based color.
Right.
Because I wouldn't think to put horn with glass. I would just do glass, and glass, you know,
Right,
and
right.
the colors would look. Yeah.
You might not even know if it's horn.
Right.
You just bought it because it
Plastic.
looks cool.
Yeah, probably.
In this one are all my seed beads. Now seed beads are, gotta unload this.
But we work with seed beads too. There's a lot of knitting that you can do with beads, with seed beads.
I got a lot of boxes here.
Yeah.
But
you're very organized.
I inherited some of those, so I have to go through them and re-sort them. But these are my seed beads. And so a lot of these I keep them in their little containers. And so, and again, part of that is when you're using seed beads, you know you want a seed bead compared to you want like a faceted,
Okay, right.
cube or something. The one thing to know about organizing beads, the most important thing to know, I learned from this box. So this box has these little things that you can pull out.
Okay.
So I bought this box and I'm so excited, and I took it and I dumped beads in it and I was so excited, and then I closed it up like this. Oops. And I closed it up, and it has a handle here, so I went like this and all the seed beads went psh, because these little boxes, they're not tight against the lid.
Got it.
And they all went together.
Oh,
and then they were all
do you
mixed
see the
up.
size of that? Oh my gosh.
I don't
This
think
is
they
taking
were
you
all
forever.
well, that's why, see, this is a remnant of that. This little box right here with all these beads.
Oh my.
So it's really important to think about if you have larger beads. So if you have these little tiny seed beads like these are probably like 8s or 10s.
Teeny.
They're little tiny ones. You have to be aware, and if you're going to turn the box sideways, if they're going to slide between, even in a box like this, these boxes are fairly tight, but if they're going to, see I have my hand on it.
Oh yeah, and they're sliding.
You can see when I let go that they're sliding down. So, and I just felt some fall out.
Yeah, they're on my foot.
So, one is I usually keep the boxes flat.
Yes.
Don't turn them sideways unless you're going to rubber band them or something. Because there's really, unless you're going to you can get those small containers that you just twist the lids on and you can stack them up. A lot of people use those for seed beads. I don't do a lot of seed bead work in the sense of like bead weaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I did, then I would probably have those little containers to stack up. Because then you could kind of pick your colors, screw them together, and put them in a project bag.
Right.
But these I kind of, and if I go anywhere and I take my beads, I usually put a rubber bander on them, and I have those LL Bean totes.
Yes.
And I just, they
flat.
fit in there perfectly. The boat bags that are, I think, the large, they fit in, and you can put 2 of these boxes next to each other inside there. So I try to keep them flat because you don't want it to accidentally open, and you don't want it
that
to
would be bad. This is
go
what I'm so
everywhere.
afraid of.
Yes. So anyway, so this, I still use it even though it made me very unhappy at some point in my life, and that's why I keep them still in these little things. So, I mean, there's a million ways to organize this. It all depends on what works for you and how you go about creating your jewelry, your bead weaving, your yarnology. Your knitting. That's what I meant.
Your analogy works. Your craft.
Your craft. Here, I'll show you some other boxes that I have. Like, actually, I've been thinking about getting rid of these. These are one of the first ones I had. If you have little pieces and they just snap off.
Okay.
And you have different things in there. And these actually stay on pretty well, so I could turn it upside down and see what's in there.
Oh, yeah.
But again, these would work as well as those little containers that stack up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a couple of these. So they stack into each other.
Okay.
Like that. But I'm thinking about, actually you can see that's where a lot of my seed beads went after I dumped them.
Yeah.
I put them in this. So we also have these little boxes that are from IKEA. They come in 3 in a pack. I just bought some more this weekend. And I put these are my glass chips.
Okay.
This is actually dyed glass compared to the other ones. The other chips we saw were semi-precious stones.
Okay.
So, they were like peridot or citrine. But these are just glass, and that's been dyed. So I steeped them in here. So these stack on top of each other, which is nice. And these are fun too, to be able to just carry them around. And they don't come open very easily. You really have to work to get these open.
Nice.
But, this is just my system.
Right.
That's not the be-all, end-all of the world. So my working table is right here. So I just turn and grab things off my shelf and stick it back on when I'm working.
And I see you've got lots of little bowls.
I do. I like little bowls. That's how I organize my projects. So this is actually like beads that I like. that I
Okay.
don't want anyone to touch.
This is the one you need here.
Well, a lot of times it's like I find a bead and I'm like, this is really cool. It would be cool but I don't have time to make it, so I'll put it in a little bowl.
All right.
And so I either put them in bowls because they're beads, they're tiny.
Right.
And that'll be my project. And also then the bowls, can you get the other green one? They stack up. So when I'm trying to clean up, I can just stack them on top of each other. It looks like everything's really
Yeah,
clean.
it does. It's very organized looking.
Those are I got those at Wegmans in a little tube.
Oh, right.
You know, there's some sort of a condiment bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that I do is I put everything together and I put it in a bag.
Yes.
So this is a project that I'm working on. I want to extend this necklace. So I'm going to add something like this onto it. But I bought these beads. I have this. And so,
That'll be cool looking.
yeah, it'll be fun. So I just stick them in a Ziploc bag. And when I'm working on things for clients, when I'm doing my horsehair jewelry, I have bigger bags. They're about this big.
Mhm.
And I write their name in the corner. And I put all of the pieces to it in that bag to keep them separated. And then I can stack them all in a box.
Oh, all right.
And then also I can take it with me when I'm going places. And I'm just going to weave hair.
Okay.
I just take the bag out and go.
Good idea.
So that's how I basically organize all of my beads. And then when it comes to the tools that go with beading, I have my white little thing back here. I
Okay.
don't know if you can see it from
You can see
IKEA.
it's lighting.
And it has lots of drawers in it, but one of my drawers has tons of tools.
Ah, yes.
All kinds of tools. And I just kind of set them in there.
I can see you do this for a living because you have way more specific and individual little things than the average person, I think.
Yes.
So-
Well, over time I've acquired
Yeah.
some extra tools, some fun ones.
Yeah.
And then over behind you is a bag.
This
You can-
one?
Yep. And that's my travel bag. That actually stays there on my shelf, but this has a little bit of everything in it, so whenever I go somewhere or someone says to me, you know, I have this necklace that I think you can fix. Do you think when you come over next time, I just take my whole bag. Go, there's a tape measure in here. There's a bowl,
Yeah.
in case I need a bowl. There's tape. There's needles. There's glue. There's several pairs of scissors. There's a hemostat in case I need to stop blood flow. Or also,
Or poke out a corner, right?
or yeah, exactly, pork at a corner. That too. There's marker. My all-time favorite tool, a bead scoop. It's a scoop at one end and tweezers at the other. Taking out splinters or picking up beads.
She's a nurse in her spare time.
A lighter, I don't know, in case it gets dark, it's like candles or incense.
In case you don't know what kind of fiber you're working with, you can burn it.
Yeah, exactly. My measure, this is how you measure
Oh,
beads.
cute.
I can't remember what, this has a real specific name and I can't think of it. So anyway, oh, and lip balm.
Which is the most important item.
So anyway, what's great about this though is everything is in here, and I have a set of tools in here. I keep my round nose pliers and a pair of chain nose pliers. I have several sets of them, so there's always a pair in here. So
Okay.
I always know, and this also is helpful when I decide I don't want to work in the studio today. I'm going to work outside. I can grab everything. I put it on a tray, and I grab this, and for the most part, I'm not running up and down the stairs. So
Wow.
that's my little bag from Crabtree and Evelyn.
She's very organized this
So
week.
I try. Just because I'm organized doesn't mean that I get a lot done.
But it really looks good. And
It does
actually,
look good.
then at least you know, like that's been probably my biggest downfall is that I want to do something, but then I don't know where the stuff is. You have to go scrounging around to find it.
Exactly.
And if you have at least some kind of a system, you generally know where to go to find things. And then they don't get ruined, like you were talking about with the dust. It won't get ruined. So it's good to at least attempt to have some kind of organizational system.
It is. And I think sometimes I can't work unless everything's cleaned up. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It's a raging mess. But sometimes it's just like you need the clean slate and be able to pick through everything. So, do you have any other questions about bead organization?
Oh well, goodness.
Do you-
I think that you covered a lot. You had some good ideas with that.
There's a whole bunch of different types of boxes and things that you can buy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're relatively inexpensive, especially if you get them on sale.
Yeah.
So you just have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah. pick and choose? And are there good like resources? You said IKEA, you said Michael's. Is there any place else that they would have stuff like this that is reasonable?
You know, Hobby Lobby, or you can also just do, you know, jars from home. Originally when I started, I just would take different types of jars and put beads in them.
You like baby food jars?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I do kind of like that, and I had them lined up on the shelves up here.
Oh, neat.
Now I have seeds and nuts in those. And I have buttons, because I don't have a ton of buttons.
Oh, I was going to grab the pepper.
That's actually sand from Hawaii. You're close.
It looks like pepper. In case you get hungry, there's a snack over here.
No, that I think is in this drawer.
Well, show us your fabric now. Let's see how you do with that.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that.
All right.
So this is my fabric section, at least part of it. And this is one of those big old shelves from IKEA that has all the little kubies in it. And I got these little orange block things from IKEA as well. And so the way I organize my fabrics is by color, because when I create by color. Occasionally I will think about the type of material, like for instance when you're making bibs, you want something that's cotton. A lot of times I use flannel, but then I'll know that I want blue flannel. So originally I tried organizing it by the type of fabric, but then I found that I was always rumbling through everything looking for what I wanted. But because I create by color, I have it by color. So these are all my blues, and I have most of blues because it goes over 2 shelves. And then this is my yellows and tans and my pinks. These are my whites and sort of, I don't know what color this is, and then my blacks. And then I have over here, I have my reds and greens, and so that way when I decide, okay, I want to make something for a little girl, I'm going to go to my pinks first and see what I have here, and then when I pull this out, I can decide that I really need a green to go with it, so I'm going to go up to my greens, or I'm going to go over here to my blues and figure out what's going to go with it. And so that's how I organize my fabrics, and basically I just have them folded up in half, and I kind of just lay them on top of each other. And then when the pieces get real small, because I like to make tiny things too, I have scrap boxes. And so I just took this box, and it's filled with all kinds of pieces of fabric that are just little chunks that won't really fit on the shelf, and that I'm someday going to use for something. And also this is also where I send my children when they tell me they want something, so I don't end up with a piece of fabric this big with a circle cut out of the middle. That I just say, go look through the box, they can dump the whole thing on the floor and figure out what they need. There's all different colors in here. And a lot of times I come to this when I'm looking for things like pockets. I want to put a pocket on a bag. You can go through and you can I can find all kinds of different sizes that eventually I will find something somewhere that's the right size for the pocket that I'm trying to make. And then sometimes I think, I really like this fabric, I think we'll just make the pocket this way now. Instead of this way. So, and I have my crafting books here for sewing and my patterns that I make, because a lot of times I make my own patterns when I create stuff, and so I try to keep a record of those, because inevitably someone will see it and say, wow, I really like that, can you make me that? And you cannot remember how you did it. So I keep copies of my patterns. I also have this book that my brother made for me, and I put a lot of my patterns in here. I write them in with marker, and so that I can go back and figure out how I did it. Because a year later, you're like, I have no idea how I created this thing. So that's basically how I organize all of my fabric pieces. And it helps me be a little more creative. My sewing machine is right over here. And a lot of times I set up my ironing board right here, so I can sit at my sewing machine over here and I can swivel over to my ironing board, which is a tip I read in one of these books, the Bend the Rules Sewing, which is, if you want to sew quickly, is have your ironing board at waist height when you're sitting, and then you don't have to keep getting up and down. And then all of my fabric is right here and I can just pull it up. So hopefully that'll help you. So did you learn anything about organizing?
Yeah, I did a little bit. You know, you have a different form of it than I do, but it's similar. Like the way you organize your fabrics is very similar to how I organize my yarn. If I had cubbies like that, they'd be chock full, and it'd be perfect. But my kids have taken over that bookcase, so I can't use it.
Sounds like a trip to IKEA is coming on.
Yeah, if we had room for another bookcase, I'd for sure get one. They're really nice. The cubbies work very well.
Yeah, I mean, really, you can get them at Target too.
Yeah.
But it's more fun to go to IKEA.
It is if you have one nearby. But yeah, I liked the different kinds of boxes because not all of them are going to be ones that you have to go specially get. You can, these guys reminded me of wipes boxes.
Oh, right.
Like the ones that are...
yeah, you can definitely...
Yeah, things like
I think
that.
the advantage to buying boxes is that they're all, or buying whatever storage unit you have, is they're all the same. And so when you go to store them, they're very consistent.
Right.
Because I used to do the jars, like I said, and I like the aesthetically, the way it looks. Like you have all these different beads. But then when I went to try and like use them, they're like all like different and you're moving them around. And so functionally it wasn't as great for me.
But it was pretty.
I mean, I see those craft rooms where they have like tons of shells and everything's filled and part of me is like, I really like that, and part of me is like, makes my brain crazy. Can't think. Oh my gosh, where's the paint? So I don't know.
But have everything labeled at least, like your stuff is all labeled. That would help a lot to have a certain place for each thing, and to know this is where this goes, and this is so that it's at your fingertips. You don't have to go scrounging.
It definitely makes it a lot easier. But you can use whatever you find. You can use jars and cans and.
I forgot to mention last week, if you have fiber, like for felting or for like needle felting or for spinning, keep that contained as well. I mean, that's going to be a nesting spot for many things.
Critters. I have mine in shoe boxes.
Yeah, I keep everything in plastic.
Oh, okay.
And then just keep it away, from the general critterdom out there. But
yeah,
you'll know what works for you. But just as long as you keep things sealed and safe and away from things that can get them dirty and ruined, you'll have a good stash.
Right. So. And as far as the fabrics go, I usually, if it's cotton, I usually wash it as soon as I bring it home. I try to anyway, because a lot of times you want your fabric pre-shrunk before you work with it, because especially cotton will shrink a little bit. So a lot of times when I buy it, I bring it home, unless it's something massive.
Yeah.
I bring it home and I just throw it in the washing machine with my regular clothes that week, and then it comes up here to my studio.
I guess then you won't have to worry about ever pulling the wrong piece and having to remember what's been washed and what's not been washed.
Yeah, for the most part. You can tell. You can feel it, and you'll see that the edge starts to fray a little bit.
Okay.
Compared to, it takes the sizing out, and so it doesn't feel as stiff. But it'll fray the edge a little bit. That if you take out a piece that has not been washed and you compare them, you're like, oh, okay, I can see that. It's been washed. So.
Well, good tips. So if you guys have ideas or tips that you found that work really well for you, please feel free to post them. We always like to get new ideas around. And if you have any questions about beading or sewing, today I defer to Sarah.
I'm the resident expert in this room right now.
Yes. There was a time when
There was a time that the dog was in the room, and he was the top dog. But
He's
now
the
it's
expert.
me.
So.
But yeah, any tips on organizing, even if it's beyond what the crafting supplies we have here today, beyond yarn and beads and fabric. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
So that's about it for today.
We'll be back next time with a regular old DIY, but we hope you guys learned something from today, and we'll see you back soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.